Hello and welcome to Interactive Distractions, episode number question mark. I'm not sure what we're calling this right now. My name is Chris Verricchio, and I'm here with Jeff Chorney.
Oh, word up, guys.
So just to give everybody a little bit of background on what's going on, we did record episode 496. We had some technical difficulties with the software that we use, so that has not been released yet. We are going to try and put that together, but it's just been slow going because Jason is also not feeling well. So that's why we've been kind of on hiatus a couple of weeks, waiting for Jason to get better. So we're kind of testing out the software on our side to try and see if we can get things moving, with just us, and then we'll try and record a proper episode on Thursday. So the plan for this episode is essentially just to go through the emails that you guys sent in about the Game Awards. The Game Awards have already happened, but we're going to try and answer them like we haven't watched it yet. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Yeah. I'm not sure how good actors we are, but we'll see.
And we still use the term email, even though all these are social media and stuff and Discord. Yeah. But we're old, so hang with us here.
Your responses. We're gonna talk about your responses.
That's right. So I threw this out on the socials, see what people thought of, because originally we were going to do this shortly after the nominations were released. Of course, this is very timely, and now we're going after the winners have already been chosen, and all those wonderful announcements came out, and I hope you guys really enjoyed that reveal for Half-Life 3. So I'm sure you all loved it. Most anticipated. Okay, so let's see what people thought of these nominations.
All right.
The first one comes from Sveik. He says, I want to give a fat shout out to my dog, Dragon's Dogma 2. If it weren't for Astrobot, no other game this year has brought me so much more joy gaming. So, Astrobot, great pick. Dragon's Dogma, a lot of people like that. I did not play that. Chris, I don't think you played that either, right?
I didn't. I tried to play the first one, especially when they released they had like an all-inclusive version, and I can't remember what they called it. But I tried to play it, and I don't know. At the time, it wasn't clicking with me. But it is a game I would like to go back and try again, but at another time, I think. But yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2. Was Dragon's Dogma 2 nominated?
I don't think it was not nominated for the regular game. I'm trying to think if it was nominated for one of the others. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But what I'm gathering is that it's if it's not his first game of the year, it's his second choice to Astrobot. Well, he said if it wasn't for Astrobot, no other game. So thank you for that.
Astrobot was great. Second one comes from Evil Pilot John, and he said, this was one of the things that we asked about. A DLC should not count as it's just an extension of the original game. I've had the most fun this year with Vessel of Hatred, but it's DLC too. Rebirth does not belong on that list. It's the only one that I have played out of those nominees. It certainly did not feel like Game of the Year material. So the DLC question on whether or not it should be on a Game of the Year list. What's your take on this?
No, I don't think it should be.
Okay.
So straight up should not be.
From your perspective then, Elden Ring's DLC should not have been on the list.
No. Okay. One, because it's DLC, so you do need the base game to play it. Mm-hmm. And number two, you had to get really, really far in the base game to play it. It wasn't something like when you get like Witcher 3 even, their DLC expansions that came out, you could start just the DLC expansions. It gave you a level 25 girl. You can assign like the points where you want to do them, stuff like that. You can't do that in Elden Ring. It's literally like just like kind of like an end game pretty much.
Yeah. See, I see your point when it comes to like how far you have to get in the game. You do have to get really far in the game to jump to Shadow of the Tree. The way that I've been looking at it recently is if I were to... So think of it this way. They just announced a new game in the Elden Ring series. right?
Yes. Yeah. Kinda. Yeah.
It's going to reuse a
they
lot
did.
of
I don't
what's
remember
there.
them doing that, Chris.
Oh yeah, well that's true.
Yeah, no, but yeah, go ahead with your
as
point.
I said, bad acting.
Yeah.
Bad
We're
acting,
not going to stick to this. We're not going to be able to stick to this bit.
Hold on. That lasted how long, Jeff? How long did that last before I fucked it up? 5 minutes. 5 minutes and I fucked it up.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Well, now they're on to us that Half-Life 3 was revealed.
I certainly see the point there. But if like the new Elden Ring, it's going to reuse a lot of stuff, right? From Elden Ring proper, from the first game. So when it comes to DLC, my thought is, could you just rip what they created out of the game and create something standalone with it? And that's not always the case, but I think Shadow of the Erdtree could have been.
It could have been standalone for sure.
Yeah. So since it's DLC that could have stood on its own, I mean, think about it. A bunch of new enemies, bunch of new weapon types, a bunch of new bosses, brand new way to level up, right? Yeah. Brand new mechanics and leveling up. It did reuse like your stats and stuff like that. So leveling up in the base game still mattered, but it's still like, it was still just a small percentage of what you needed when it came to leveling up your character. For Erdtree, I don't really have a problem with it being on the Game of the Year list. I agree it didn't deserve to get it because I think that there were other games, and I agree that Final Fantasy didn't deserve to get it because there were other games on there that deserved it. But yeah, it's got to be something that literally I could rip it out of the game and it could stand on its own. And there's not a whole lot of DLC that allows you to do that. So, but I think Shadow of the Erdtree does.
So I guess it does, but here's the problem: is that is taking up a slot of another game that is original that didn't make the nominations because of Erdtree.
I don't disagree.
Prince of Persia could have been on there.
I don't disagree, but what I'm getting at is if they would have just released Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree as like a sequel, right?
Oh, and called it like Erdtree 2 even, or even just Shadow, or like a spin-off, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah. If they would have actually created a separate game, then, would it have gotten there? Would it have
like Miles Morales or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah. Miles Morales was essentially DLC for Spider-Man, but it was a separate game. It could stand on its own.
Yeah. So many Halo ODST was the same thing. That was going to be a DLC for Halo 3, and it became a standalone thing. Yeah. I also even... Yeah, that's a tough one because it's also like that. Like John said that Vessel of Hatred was his favorite thing he's played this year. Like Erdtree is up there for me. It's not like I don't know where it's going to be when we do our list, probably in like January or like early February or whatever. But I can totally get that. But I would just have a hard time giving it to DLC because it's.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like
it's a good DLC. Like it's a full ass game. Like it's longer than. It's got more shit in that than most games do in total. And the opposite end of that...
Yeah, the number of hours I put into that DLC, like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And they're good hours. They're on... And also, I'm going to piggyback on Evil Pirate John's comment here, is that unlike Erdtree, Final Fantasy... what's it called? Rebirth is bloated to all shit, and it is long as hell, but that game could easily be shortened down to half of it, and I think it would feel like a better game. Like I agree. I get a lot of its nostalgia, and I get a lot of it's the characters and seeing what they did with it, but I will fight on this hill that systems, mechanics, and game design, I don't think that's a game that deserves to even... if there was 10 games that were nominated, I don't think it would deserve to be on that list. But that's just me. And John, I guess. And maybe even Chris, we don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't... Of course, I did play Remake immediately before, and I even played like the interlude or intergrade.
Oh, yeah.
It was. The Yuffie DLC, because Yuffie was my favorite character. I don't know why, but like her like sassy like ditziness, I just loved her personality. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. She was funny.
Yeah, but
the characters are great.
Yeah, but playing Rebirth, I was just like, I can't. I just don't want to do this right now. So, but yeah, like I am glad that Shadow the Erdtree is not my favorite thing from this year, because even with saying what I just said, I would still feel a little dirty putting it on my list.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'll be on my top 10.
At least like number one.
Yeah. Top. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They need a separate list for that. Like they do need a separate category, because there's enough games that get DLC that they could easily have like 6 nominations for the category. This one comes from Oh No, It's Addy. He says,
"Oh no,
it's Addy. Just chatted a bit in the gaming news discussion chat, but I think there should be a DLC category. There's usually plenty of DLC released over the years, but it shouldn't be considered Game of the Year. It's Game of the Year, which is Elden Ring. You can't play Shadow without it."
Yeah, we kind of touched on this, but I certainly agree. Like, I would be very happy to see like a best expansion or a best like DLC, something like that. I think that would be a good compromise.
Yeah.
Captain Casey, I think there should be a good argument for DLCs. Shadow the Erdtree is a good argument. It's massive, it's impactful, and it's not an additional hour-long quest. Other good examples are the Xenoblade story DLCs. I certainly haven't played the Xenoblade story DLCs, so I don't really have a lot of view of that. But yeah, I mean, what he's saying is kind of what I'm arguing for. The big thing is, could it stand on its own? And I think Shadow could.
Mm-hmm. And also to that point too, last year we saw, and this is another issue I think with the Game Awards, is which we'll talk about this Thursday when we go into more in detail about our thoughts on it. For best ongoing game, they gave it to Cyberpunk last year, when Cyberpunk released a beefy DLC in the same vein of Erdtree. It's long, it's huge, it revamped the game in so many ways, and it fixed the game in so many ways. And I don't think that should have got that award at the time, because it wasn't an ongoing. Their ongoingness with that game was fixing the fucking game. That's what the ongoing was.
Yeah, I agree.
Wasn't. They weren't adding a bunch of shit. They were fixing and adding stuff that was promised, and then they dropped a big expansion that had the big patch and fixed like pretty much everything. Like it made it a Game of the Year contender for most people when that happened, and they stuffed it into a category that they wanted to give it an award.
Yep.
And a best DLC category would have fixed that. So
I approve. Like, let's do this. Let's make it happen.
Exactly. Sorry, my phone back here. Mad Scientist, Mr. Tom.
Hey, that guy.
Yeah, it's been a while.
What's up, Tom? It has been.
Feels like a weak year for games when looking at this list. Just no Nintendo games, but I know they are saving releases for the next Switch. Just feels like an off year for games. Now, I did reply to this directly to Tom on Blue Sky. I think you're fucking crazy.
I kind of do too.
This was a fantastic year for games, and it was an off year for Nintendo. I think it's probably one of the very few off years they have. They usually have like one game that's like a certified Game of the Year nomination every year. This one they didn't. But man, this game, I like looking at my list, man, so many bangers, so many games that I'm gonna have to make some hard cuts. Like I played a game this week, foreshadowing playing indie. That's knocked a game off my top 3 for sure. It's just gonna come down to which slot I'm gonna put it in for when we do ours. But it's gonna be tough. And yeah, Tom,
I feel like I've been busy with a game, like and always had one lined up for next. Like this year, especially the last half of the year, like in the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the year, I can see it. Like we didn't have a whole lot. Like we had Prince of Persia come out. Like that was the first thing that was. I missed out on that one. To be honest with you, I'm kind of sad that I haven't gotten into that series yet.
Dragon's Dogma was early.
Yeah. So I like in the beginning of the year, I see that but man, the last 6 months or so, I feel
It's
like
been
every time I'm playing a
nonstop.
game, I already know what's next. Like I already know the next game I'm going to play. And it's been a while since that's happened.
The only time I had a pretty big gap, that was just recently between what's it called? Between Metaphor and Indie. And that was about 2 weeks, no, 3 weeks. I don't know. I was
But
playing
that
a
wasn't
bunch
even
of
a gap
stuff.
because you were playing. Well, you were playing
a bunch of
of
other stuff. Yeah, I was playing like older stuff.
But didn't you beat Dragon Age in that time?
Oh fuck! I forgot about Dragon. Sorry, Dragon Age and Indie. I forgot I beat Dragon Age after Metaphor. Sorry, between Dragon Age and Indie, and that was only like 2 weeks or something like that. 2 weeks and a bit. So yeah, I could not. I wish there was more gaps because I just so much. I have so much in my backlog, dude. I made like a backlog list of just this year, and there's like Unicorn Overlord. I still haven't touched, and that's like
I haven't touched it either.
There's so much shit that I need to go back to.
Next year we're gonna do our backlog list, and it's gonna be games from this year.
Yeah, no, for real.
It's all it's gonna be is games from this year that we missed.
Yeah, so true, so true.
But Tom, let's see.
Hard disagree, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, love you, Tom. But yeah, I mean, certainly I agree that there wasn't a ton for Nintendo. I mean, I picked up two Nintendo properties this year with Echoes of Wisdom and Princess Peach Showtime. But my daughter beat Princess Peach Showtime. Did I tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
Did I?
I think
okay. So. And she loved it so much that it got her into ice skating.
Oh, nice.
Like the figure skating.
Oh,
Princess
yeah, you were
Peach.
saying the Princess Skate. Yeah, the Princess Peach, that's right.
And she loved that so much that she is now 6 months in learning to like figure skate. So, and she loves it. She loves it. That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, Jonathan or Jay, Balatro is awesome and definitely deserves to be here. I have it on PC and Xbox. I don't feel like DLCs should be on the Game of the Year category, but
shrug
emoji. So I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even hear of Balatro until like 2 weeks ago.
I couldn't see that because unless you listen to a lot of gaming podcasts or have friends that play it, it's not one that was like advertised by any means.
Yeah.
I knew it early in the year. I think it came out around like January, February, because every podcast was talking about it. And for quite a while, I knew of it. I just didn't know really what it was. Tanya just started playing it 2 days ago, and she's been addicted to it.
So what is it exactly?
It's a card game.
It's a poker game, right?
So you're basically you're trying to use poker hands to get a high score. So each round you have a point threshold you need to cover. So it'll be like 30,000 points, and each poker hand is worth a certain amount of points. So you get like 7 cards, and you make your best poker hand, and then you get points, and you get cards drawn. Now that's just like poker. But you get these joker cards, which are like buffs that like make certain cards worth more, or make the multiplier times 20, and things like that. And you can also get debuffs. So, and you're doing it as a run. So you're trying to go from like round 1. Each ante has 3 rounds, so 2 rounds and like a boss round, and then it goes to like ante 2, which is again the same thing. That goes to rounds of 8. When you do all 8, this is as far. It could be a lot more to it. This is just what I've seen Tanya do. When you get to the end of 8, that's basically it. You completed a run. But then you open up cards like you do in a roguelite, and that's kind of what this is. So you get better cards, and you make your own decks, and then you go do it again, and then it's just kind of like that. And yeah, man, she got up on Saturday or Sunday at like 7:30 in the morning to play it, and she doesn't get up early. Like, I'm the early riser. She's the one who gets up at like 9:30, and I saw her pop up online at 7:30 playing Balatro.
I love that you think that 9:30 is late.
What? Well, it's compared to what I do. Yeah, it's not late at all. But
I'm the early riser in this house too. But like the difference between the early riser, me, and the late riser, my wife, is it can be between 2 and 4 hours, depending on what time I get up. So, But I honestly like I love like I don't know much about Balatro, and I'm not going to pretend I do, but I'm not going to say good or bad things about it. But what I do like is that it shows like the diversity of what types of games have been released this year and how good they have been. It's like if you would have told me like a card game that uses poker face, cards is going to be on all the game of the year lists, I would have been like, what? You're crazy. Must be a shitty year, right? like Tom said. But yeah, it hasn't been. So yeah, I get it. That's awesome. Thank you, Jonathan.
Sure. Yes, thank you. I need to try Blotcho. I'm just waiting because I didn't want Tiny to start playing it because I knew once she started playing it, she would stop playing Dragon Age. Not because she doesn't like Dragon Age, just because she loves card game type stuff, and that's kind of what happened so far. She hasn't touched Dragon Age since she started Balatro.
Crystal has finished Dragon Age 3 times.
Yeah, you're saying
she's on her 4th playthrough.
That's crazy.
And she went back, and now she's playing Inquisition.
Oh wow! Okay, did she play Inquisition originally?
No. She's never played a Dragon Age game.
I thought to go back and play Inquisition as well, and I put that on my backlog list, and I was like, what the fuck am I thinking? This backlog list is getting too big.
Yeah. We'll get into Veilguard on Thursday, but I think I know what it is that makes Veilguard so interesting to me and like what grabs me about it, but we'll talk about that on Thursday for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to get your point of view on it, because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
This next one's from Andreas Carey86. He says, "Don't have a." Okay, so I gotta preface that he is German. He lives in Germany, so his English is great, but sometimes it doesn't come through well in text. So I'm gonna do my best here. So sorry, Andreas, if I butcher some of this.
But thanks for listening from Germany. Awesome.
For sure. I don't have a high meaning on the Game Awards, and this list shows it again. 1, most Sony products, even Sony didn't deliver this year much. 2, I wouldn't list a remake of a game in it, especially if it's a second part. And 3, more variation. 4, no DLC.
Okay.
There's quite a few things there too.
Yeah, so Sony didn't deliver much. They delivered Astrobot. What else did they do? Did they do anything else this year?
Themselves, no, but
yeah,
I guess,
usually Sony has like usually 2 or 3 exclusives that are like vying for that Game of the Year, like, or something in the Game of the Year awards. And right now, only thing I can think of is Astrobot.
Well, that was their only in-house developed game, I think. This year.
Yeah. They had an exclusive, right? Because they had Final Fantasy, but
Wukong's an exclusive right now too.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think he's saying it was mostly Sony stuff, is what he's saying. Even though Sony didn't deliver. Remake's a tough one because
it depends on the remake. It really does, I think.
Yeah.
I think that the amount of change and the amount of work that went into what Final Fantasy VII is now, I think it's arguably deserving.
I think the first one is, but like you said, the second one is where it's
right. I don't think they needed to do 3 games. I think they could have done 2 games and had one that was in Midgard and one that was out of Midgard and moving forward. But like you said, there's way too much fluff.
Yeah.
So
they could have probably fit I don't know where it is compared to the original storyline because I never beat the original. But I assume they could have taken out a lot of that bloat and put in the rest of the game and made it more engaging. But something like Resident Evil 4 I think would be totally deserving. But yeah, that one is a tough one. Remakes, like you said, built from the ground up, brand new, changes a bunch, yes. Remasters and like shot for shot remakes, no. I love the Demon Souls remake on PS5, but I don't think that would be deserving of a Game of the Year nomination because it's the same game just with a much better coat of paint.
Variation, I think we just kind of talked about that. I think there was a lot of variation this year.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Chinese representation, then they had indie representation, Japanese time. Where's Astrobot's developer from?
Sweden? I don't remember. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around there. Definitely somewhere like around the Europe and
Team Asobi.
Asobi. I'm missing a game. So Astrobot, Erdtree, Wukong, Final Fantasy.
They're in Japan.
Balatro. Was it? Was there only 5 games that were the nominations? Or am I missing a game?
For Game of the Year?
Yeah. So there's Balatro, Final Fantasy, Erdtree,
Astrobot, Metaphor, Black Myth.
Metaphor is what I'm forgetting. Okay, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was one of the better years for nominations, being more varied.
You got a platformer, you got a JRPG, you got Black Myth is kind of something new.
Action.
Yeah, it's character action, but it's like Boss Rush, right? Isn't it Boss Rush character action? It's not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is kind of like a action RPG, and then Elden Ring again, another action RPG, and then Balatro, a card game. Like it's crazy. That's awesome. Anyway,
yeah, they could tighten up the variation of. Well, we went over all that stuff before.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Andreas.
And now we have Andres Plays, and he says, I still can't understand Black Myth Wukong being nominated for Game of the Year. Even Stellar Blade got a better score, and Infinite Wealth is right there. So, again, I don't really have a whole lot. I don't have experience with Wukong, but I do feel like Stellar Blade kind of got screwed in a couple of places. Like, it was a fantastic game.
I would have put it there above Erdtree because of the DLC.
There you go.
I mean, I would. Like, I would play. I think Erdtree's better. Like, I had more fun with Erdtree. Like, but because the whole caveat overall, yeah, Erdtree. I loved Erdtree, man. That game.
Okay.
Like, Stellar Blade, I loved. That was pretty much my game of the year. Did that come out before?
That was surprise of the year. That was surprise of the year for sure.
Yeah.
I think it was before Erdtree.
I think it might have been, because I think it was my game of the year. That and like Hellblade were right up there. Not Hellblade. Well, Hellblade was up there too, but fucking Helldivers too. That was early this year too. But I would probably definitely put Stellar Blade on there instead of a DLC for Erdtree.
Okay.
Wukong, I think Wukong is really good. It's very good. Very surprising. It was very like Stellar Blade, fucking well put together. It wasn't falling apart at the seams when it came out, like most games are these days.
Yeah,
and I like that. It was refreshing not to play a game that
crashed on you,
glitchy. It crashed on you for like fucking 25 minutes or something, or had something wrong with like terrible like AI just not working or something. But I don't. Yeah, it's. He did say one thing though regarding the scores. I don't think Game of the Year should be taken necessarily by just whatever has a higher meta score, because that's not relative. Like, it's a committee, whereas reviews are an average. If that makes sense. Follow?
I think it has a place, but it's not the end all be all. That's what I'll say about that.
And I'm pretty sure they probably scored relatively close to each other. I think they're both in the 80s. And close 80s. And I think they both kind of bleed into each other in terms of like fan bases too. So I get it. At Wukong, I like Stellar Blade more than Wukong, just because Wukong I kind of got long in the tooth towards the end too, and I just kind of got tired of the makeup of it. It's not a boss rush, but it is. You're fighting a lot of bosses.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I was kind of like, I'm going to put this on the back burner for a while, and I just never went back to it.
They're both 81.
Oh, sorry,
actually,
okay, they're tied right now.
They're both 81.
Right now they probably will be, yeah.
Stellar Blade has a higher user score because TNA. That's why.
Well, could be. But on the opposite end, I would be like, well, but Wukong might have higher because of China. Because but maybe they don't really put reviews on there. Maybe they have a site over there that they prefer.
Possibly.
But Infinite Wealth, though, yeah, I can see that. That is right. that game, when that came out, like, it got me to buy a Yakuza game like close to day one because of how much hype that game was getting, and like not just the regular hype from the fans. Like we've all heard about Yakuza, like you and I. I've never been really enticed to get one. I've tried them when they came to Game Pass, and I was kind of like whatever. But Infinite Wealth was getting so much hype, so much high praise, so much good word of mouth. I'm like, I'm gonna try it, and I loved it. Just came down to putting it down for too long. When I came back, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I kind of fell off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one that could have went in there instead of Erdtree. Just saying. And I love fucking Erdtree. Okay. Thank you, Andreas. This is from Valerian. He says, I feel like Silent Hill 2 Remake should have been nominated. Genuinely the best horror game I have ever played. And as for this, Shadow
of the Erdtree.
Oh, Shadow of the Erdtree. Short form. Thank you, Chris. It was my favorite experience this year. But there have been other games that were deserving of a nomination, like Space Marine 2.
Oh, man, Space Marine. Okay.
A game resembling that of the Xbox 360 era. Says Wukong, I feel like shouldn't have been nominated. That's my biggest problem, and not even Shadow of the Erdtree at this point. Wukong was decent, yes, but I don't feel it was amazing like some other games of this year. Okay, that's two people that don't really feel the Wukong love.
I hear Travis screaming right now. I think I'm pretty sure there's like profanity and some other like what the fuck, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but, I get it. I mean, I would put, like I said, I'd put Celebrate in front of Wukong. I would probably put Infinite Wealth over. I am going to be putting Space Marine 2 above Wukong in my list, so I get that. I mean,
Helldivers is going to be on mine. That game was amazing.
Helldivers is going to be above Wukong for me as well. So, I mean, Wukong will probably make my top 10, but it will probably be on the lower end of 7 or lower probably. It does make you wonder because some of this is political. Like it is like all these award shows. It's got to that point now where you kind of have to cater to the people that are funding the show.
Yeah.
And there was some news. I'm not sure if we'll cover it next week if we talk, but the Wukong guys were spotted like crying when they lost. And there's nothing wrong with that. They really, really were taking this Game Awards show seriously, probably more so than a lot of the other developers do. And they were that upset, like they were showing, like a lot of peers were saying she was in the front row, and she noticed that they were crying. That part's fine. And I don't know if the second part is 100% true or not, but apparently they wrote their thank you speech like 2 months before the Game Awards or something like that. I actually saw like 2 years, but I don't understand how they could do 2 years. That's a bit crazy. That part I'm kind of like
still in development. We were writing our acceptance speech for the Game of the Year.
Yeah, that part I'm kind of like I don't know if they did do that. That's kind of a little bit little pretentious, but it's like I get it because people are trying to like slam them to be like, oh, who does that? Like just be happy for the other devs that win. They're allowed to be emotional, 100% allowed to be emotional.
I agree there.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they pulled like a Kanye or something and went up on stage or did anything douchey.
But Wukong is the best game ever made.
yeah, exactly. No, we hear you, game that we don't know yet that won. We hear you. That was a good game. But Wukong,
that's right. That charade was gone 5 minutes in, Jeff. It's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Our last one, Brianna7 says DLC should absolutely be given its own separate category, not included with the actual Game of the Year nominations. For as big as Shadow of the Erdtree may have been, it being in running for Game of the Year is silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, I think I'm just on the other side for this particular one. I mean, I don't disagree that I think that there's things out there that I would put on Game of the Year before Erdtree. But
you're just saying it's so good.
It's not that it's so good. It's that it's an independent piece that you could literally rip out of the game and it could stand on its own. That's why I think it should. That's why I think I'm okay with it being.
Yeah, but the problem is you can't do that. That's the thing. But so many people bought that and probably never even got to see the intro part to it.
Possibly.
That's why people. That's like with like Travis and stuff. People were helping people beat. Beat what's his face. The Blood Omen came. Whatever. Why I can't remember his name right now. But
yeah, I can't either.
Yeah,
but he was tough, dude. He's fucking tough.
Yep. But yeah, that's all the people that replied, and thank you all. We appreciate it. We needed to address these because we didn't want at least this part of the last episode to not surface because we love doing this part. It's probably our favorite part.
It's our favorite part of the whole thing. Yeah,
as getting the feedback and your people's opinions. So we needed to at least redo this part and get this out here in some type of form before we record our next show.
Yeah. So thank you everyone who responded. We apologize for the delay in getting this out there, but hopefully this little independent mini podcast is enough for you guys, and we'll be back on Thursday for
and if we did forget anybody, please let me know. Hit me up on Blue Sky or Twitter, Indus Jeff. I think I got everybody, but sometimes when I'm putting these together, one or two will go awry, and it's not on purpose. Trust me.
But thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please tell a few friends about us. Like, subscribe, and comment. We love when you do that. It helps us out with the crazy YouTube algorithm. But until next time, my name is Chris.
And I'm Jeff, and let's watch this Game of the Year show.
That's right. Play your games. So we'll talk to you next time.
Peace.